An early morning earthquake rattles parts of Kentucky, and Mother Nature is putting the squeeze on Kentucky Derby Festival vendors. Those stories in your Derby Week forecast next.
Live from WHAS 11 News, this is coverage you can count on.
Cold and sleet chilled the crowd for Thunder. Gusty winds grounded the great balloon race and dimmed the glow. After a series of weather whammies, what's next as Kentuckiana heads off to the races? Good evening, I'm Tim Seymour. First here at 11, your all-important Derby Week forecast. Let's get right to it. Jeremy Capel, lots of people betting on good weather. Are they going to get it?
Well, finally, after a week of bad weather, I think we're going to get just that. It's time to look at some sunshine and warmer temperatures this week. Take a look at your Derby Week forecast. The Steamboat race on Wednesday, mostly sunny, mild. Only a slight chance of a shower for the Pegasus Parade on Thursday. And as we look ahead towards Derby, it looks sunny and it looks quite warm. It's cool outside right now, though. 56 degrees outside, northwest wind at around 7 miles per hour. As you're waking up tomorrow morning, another chilly one, 37 degrees, perhaps a little frost. 52 at noon, becoming partly cloudy during the afternoon tomorrow, and a high near 60 degrees. Tomorrow, the cool day of the week, we are looking at a nice warming trend that will last throughout the week, and we'll have the details on that coming up in just a few minutes. Tim?
Thank you, Jeremy. Derby Festival vendors are sure hoping for warmer and drier weather. With 2 cold and wet weekends behind them and small crowds, they're taking quite a hit in the pocketbook. WHAS 11's Tony Hyatt has that part of the story. He's live in our newsroom. Tony.
Well, Tim, Thunder, the balloon glow, the balloon race, and the chow wagon, as you say, all affected by weather so far this year. The chow wagon being closed on Friday just because of rain, and many say already, enough is enough. Not all the volleyball teams were able to make the cut in the Derby Festival tournament this weekend.
3 and out.
3 and out. Most players will tell you there was a big improvement in the field conditions between Saturday and Sunday.
Warmer today than yesterday. Still windy. It's still hard to play when the wind's going.
The wind's still noticeable at the chow wagon, where people were slowly filing back in after a weekend of cold weather. Vendors say the start of this year's Derby Festival has not been the most profitable.
Thunder was probably the worst day we've had in a long time.
Really?
The weather was so cold and rainy and down.
They've been pretty popular this year.
And Terry Claybrook would love to sell more fried candy bars along with his funnel cakes and elephant ears.
We didn't know it was going to be bad, and we didn't, we've been, like I said, we've been coming here for a few years. So we knew at least it should have 1 or 2 good days.
The 2 vendors know those good days will happen when people eat, drink, and then eat some more down at the chow wagon. The Cox's Barbecue, a good week will probably erase some of the losses.
You have to love the business, for one thing. And like every day is not a winner, so you have to just take the good with the bad and hope for the best.
Weather kind of brightened up a little bit. Still a little chilly out here, but it's nice out here.
So you think there's going to be a good week ahead?
I certainly hope so.
Vendors are also counting on native Louisvillians and their traditions.
I have to come and get my funnel cake every year. I have to have my funnel cake.
Now, interestingly enough, just because of that, most vendors say that most of the money that they've lost so far could be recouped. This bad weather will get out of here if that's what Jeremy is talking about. And they say they have better lunch and dinner crowds in the week ahead that could make the difference. Tony Hyatt, WHAS 11 News 19.
Thank you, Tony. After yet another weather delay, the great balloon race got off the ground this morning. And among those in this year's race, the first mother and son team.
All right, I got to ask you this. Were you able to impart any wisdom on your son during this journey?
Yes, just relax and enjoy it.
I'll tell the truth. She said don't screw up.
Mary and David Troutman piloted the Ashley Furniture Balloon. In all, nearly 50 balloons were part of the Hare and Hound race. From the Kentucky Fair and Expo Center, winds pushed the crowd southeast to J-Town and to points beyond. This year's winner, 20-year-old Nick Donner.
I kept telling her, I was like, you know what, this would just be so cool if we could win today. And then my brother's 18 and he's in the race. It's like, okay, it'll be all right if one of us wins. Or
It was even better than okay. Donner won a check for $3,000. Well, this, of course, is a huge week for Kentucky Derby Festival events. Some of the biggest, the Run for the Rosé is Tuesday. The Great Steamboat Race is on Wednesday, and the Pegasus Parade steps off on Thursday. For a complete listing of all the things going on this week, go to our website, WHAS11.com, and click on News Links. The all-new look at Churchill Downs sure is turning quite a few heads. Yesterday was the first day of the spring meet and the ribbon cutting for the track's $121 million renovation project. That brought 15,394 people through the gates, and that's up 35% over last year. Now, as for betting, more than $12 million was wagered, and that is 29% better than last year. Published reports say a former UK basketball star has been questioned in connection with an alleged on-campus rape. An agent representing Chuck Hayes says the All-American has talked with investigators. A woman has told police that she was raped at the Wildcat Lodge on UK's campus back on Wednesday, April the 20th. No charges have been filed, and police have named no suspects. Agent Bill Duffy says Hayes will cooperate with Lexington police. Duffy says Hayes has a lot to lose by having his name mentioned, telling the Courier-Journal, quote, "Our position is to get Chuck's side of the story out there. There's no point in playing games." Duffy did not return our calls today, and a UK spokesperson says the university has no comment. Some parts of Kentucky were rattled this morning by a mild earthquake. That 4.1 quake was centered in northeastern Arkansas near the town of Manila. It was felt, though, in parts of 6 different states. No major damage or injuries were reported. It occurred in the New Madrid seismic zone, where the strongest quakes ever to hit North America struck in 1811 and in 1812. 2 South Carolina teens say they have a new appreciation for life after a week stranded out on the water. Josh Long and Troy Driscoll set sail last week for what was supposed to be a relaxing afternoon ride. Instead, they spent last week drifting at sea. The Coast Guard found them Saturday more than 100 miles from their launching point. Other than being a little sunburned and dehydrated, both boys are fine.
I was okay for the first night and the second night. But after the second night, I thought that we were not going to make it because I thought the Coast Guard was going to get us real soon, but no one was there.
Basically, my thought that I might never see my family again. I just prayed every day that God will send me home or take me to Him.
While on the boat, the boys had no food or fresh water. On the day they set sail, small boats were warned to stay off the waterways. And Jennifer Wilbanks, the so-called runaway bride, is back home tonight in Georgia. She flew home after admitting to police that she made up the story of her abduction because she was scared to get married. Now Wilbanks may be charged with making false statements to police, and police in her hometown are now looking for ways of getting money back that they spent in the week-long search for her. In Iraq, another bloody day as insurgent attacks continue targeting U.S. troops. Iraqi casualties are mounting too. And all this comes as another videotape is released showing a hostage pleading for his life. ABC's Charles Perez has that story.
As Iraq's new democratically elected government struggles to rein in attacks by insurgents, waves of violence continue to erupt across the country. In Baghdad, a U.S. military convoy traveling on a highway was among the latest targets. One Humvee was destroyed by a car bomb. Several Iraqi policemen were killed in separate attacks across the Iraqi capital. This officer says masked gunmen surrounded him and other members of the police department before opening fire from all sides. But there was a bit of good news. Iraqi police announcing that while carrying out raids south of Baghdad, several people were taken into custody in connection with the kidnapping of an official of CARE International. Margaret Hassan was abducted last October and was seen in videotape messages pleading for British troops to leave Iraq. The British government says she was later killed, though her body has not been recovered. The arrests come as Iraqi militants released another tape of a man claiming to be a hostage. Flanked by masked gunmen, the man identified himself as Douglas Wood, an Australian citizen living in California. His wife tells the Associated Press she believes the man is her husband. He issued a plea to leaders in the U.S. and Australia.
President Bush, Prime Minister Howard, Governor Schwarzenegger, family, friends, please help take the American troops the Australian troops, the British troops out of here.
A State Department spokesman says the U.S. government will not get involved in the case because the hostage is not an American citizen. Charles Perez, ABC News.
And it was 2 years ago today that President George W. Bush stood on the deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln and declared the end of major combat missions in Iraq. Right now, there are 138,000 U.S. troops in Iraq. Since the war in Iraq began in March 2003, more than 1,600 U.S. troops have died, and the military never found any weapons of mass destruction on Iraqi soil. The war in Iraq, though, did knock Saddam Hussein out of power and sparked the first ever democratic elections in Iraq. And on this anniversary, 40,000 people marched in New York at an anti-nuclear rally. The protesters chanted "No war, no nukes" as they made their way to Central Park, where they made a gigantic human peace sign. There's a comedian in the White House, and it's not who you might think. Folks inside the Beltway are buzzing over Laura Bush's monologue at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night. She had the audience doubled over during her set, where she kidded the president about his early bedtime, his ranching skills, and his sometimes strange speech. President Bush took it all in stride. He said his wife did an awesome job. Well, 1 week after Justice Sunday, television minister Pat Robertson is speaking out on the issue of judicial filibusters, calling the tactic a bigger threat than terrorism.
If you look over the course of 100 years, I think the gradual erosion of the consensus that's held our country together is probably more serious than a few bearded terrorists who fly into buildings. I think we're going to control Al-Qaeda. I think we're going to get Osama bin Laden. We won in Afghanistan. We won in Iraq.
Robertson is a former presidential candidate. His comments come 1 week after a Louisville rally broadcast to churches nationwide. During that event, Christians were urged to mobilize and fight efforts to block 9 judicial nominees. Pope Benedict XVI followed a tradition established by Pope John Paul this morning. He made his first appearance at his apartment window. Pope Benedict told the crowd of 50,000 to help bridge the gap between Catholics and Orthodox Christians. He also paid tribute to the workers of the world. Pope John Paul began the tradition of speaking from his apartment window on Sunday mornings 26 years ago. Well, what is in your pocket? This 10-year-old said he had a cell phone in there, and look what happened. A safety message for all users coming up. And haggling has moved off the car lot and onto the campus. See how parents are negotiating a good deal for their child's education coming up.
Monday at 5. Poor service, orders filled incorrectly, complain, and get results.